I'm going to be speaking a little bit funny. When on psilocybin, DMT, acid, many other psychedelics, I shouldn't wonder. But not only that, when your mind slips into another dimension of thought, then you'll see these everywhere. Now, let me talk about this a little bit. Once I had a very disturbing encounter with what I considered to be hell, and I made a video about it, if some of you remember, called The Time I Went to Hell, or 666 or something like this, because I spent 18 hours in a nightmare so incomprehensibly terrorizing, tormenting and fearful. And it came about when I had a panic attack, which is really, really bizarre for me. Never had one before, never had one since, not remotely. Never even got palpitations about, oh, you know, starting to sweat and, you know, really like this, except probably the night I was shot. Oh, what the fuck was going on there? But the mind goes to this place, and on DMT, those eyes would be proper eyes. The whole tree would be a living, proper entity of a variety with eyes and sentience, a quiet sentience, just passively observing. And all in the trees and all in these rocks down here, everywhere you would see creatures. And when people's psyches take a turn for the worst, they close their eyes and they see terrible faces, haunting faces. And then when people have dreams, nightmares, it's the same sort of thing. And I was speaking to a friend of mine who's got his own site. Some of you will know Scott from Ayahuasca Magic. How you doing, mate? I know you watch some of my videos, maybe you'll watch this one. And he speaks a lot about seeing visions of entities when he closes his eyes, when he's looking out at the natural world, seeing apparitions and this sort of thing. And so when I was speaking the other day about consciousness collapses the universe into matter, I think everything is conscious. I think the universe is conscious. So the universe collapses itself. And so when certain philosophers have said, is there anything there when we're not looking at it? Because philosophers were talking about this issue thousands of years ago, particularly hundreds of years ago, with the likes of Bishop Berkeley and René Descartes looking to see if there really is a reality. And they considered that there wasn't a reality all those years ago, and now quantum physics tell us the same. But whatever this is, it's conscious, and it makes manifest at the drop of a hat creatures which are discernible as living entities via the human consciousness, because the creatures are indiscernible. You've never seen them before. I mean, it can just be a rock and there's kind of like, you know, just bizarre things. You'll look into a cliff face and you'll see all different sorts of entities that are built into the rock, just like that, or something like this. A bit like the 4 presidents in the side of that mountain, you know, which is so famous. And so what I'm saying is that many people have experienced faces in things, and looking around at trees, our mind very often lends itself to seeing beings and faces at hundreds of meters. Paul and I, we've done many videos about this, and when he had his first first decent psilocybin trip, he stood talking to a face in a tree, who he researched later and discerned that it was very similar, if not the Green Man of mythology, Western mythology. The Green Man of nature, which is depicted in grotesques on important buildings like cathedrals and churches and government buildings and all these sorts of things. You know, they have these grotesque, these faces up on the higher parts. And so I just thought I'd mention that, you see, everywhere we go, our face, our mind, it seems to have the propensity to create faces. That's what the human being does. It's got a high level of facial recognition, and whenever we see squiggly things or this, that and the other, it's kind of like, oh, I can see this face, or I can see this animal, or something like that. That's what we pick out, because obviously that's what our mind is tuned into. But when I had my 18 hours of terror, everything I looked at, I could see faces, demonic faces. Everything had a high level of terror about it. The bushes were looking at me sinisterly. The signs were looking at me sinisterly. The duvet was looking at me sinisterly. And it was a terrifying place to be. And so we can go into many realms where we're going to be experiencing the same sort of thing. Faces, but depending on your mindset, is whether you're going to be feeling terrified or nonchalant about it, depending on your disposition, you see. But regardless of your disposition, the faces will always make manifest. And so I looked at that tree when I was walking by, and a song sprung to mind. It was a Boomtown Rats song with Bob Geldof. There's always someone looking at you, there's always, they're always looking at you. Goes on like this. It's all looking at you. I had a meditation on one occasion, a very deep meditation, whereby I was in a complete dome of eyes looking in. Blue eyes, blue human eyes looking in on me. And it was kind of like the universe is looking at you. The universe is observing you from every possible direction. Every single millisecond of your life, you're being observed. And so we're replicating this, aren't we? Via all of the observation that we are imposing upon ourselves, or they are imposing upon us, but at the end of the day, they are us, aren't they? We're paying for it, we're allowing it to happen, we're all screaming for more security. And so therefore we're being observed more and more. But the observation, it comes in many guises. It can come in the guise of a computer analog program just observing you. It can come through the camera on your computer, proper surveillance observing you. The cameras in the streets, it will come via the data, everything you purchase, everywhere you go, when you carry your phone around with you on this globe now, You're being tracked. And so that's going on. And then everywhere you are, they're looking at you too. And they most certainly are. And you only have to slip into a slightly different mindset of consciousness and you'll be very, very aware of it. For instance, on psilocybin, I'm standing here now and all these trees will be speaking to me. There will be something communicating with me, speaking to me through my mind, my dialogue, using my words to convey what they want to say. And you have a dialogue with them. And they say something like, welcome, very calmly and gently. And you go, thank you. And then they say, maybe we've missed you. Or when you're leaving, they say, oh, don't go. Why don't you stay a little longer? When are you coming back? And I've been in occasions whereby I've left certain woods and I've walked out of the wood, say like about 1/4 mile, up a hill, and the wood has been calling me back. And it's been saying, oh, do come back. You hardly stayed at all. I stood on the top of the hill and I looked back. I went, what is this? I walked back the 1/4 mile. I went into the trees and I started to hug them. These big oak trees in this park that Paul and I used to go to all the time. I'd hug this one, I'd hug that one, I'd hug another one, then I'd say, I can't hug you all, but you know, if I hug one, then I am hugging you all. I love you all and I will be coming back. You know me and Paul, we're always here. And so I'm going up now to see those guys up there. They were a different variety of tree, you see. And so it communicates with you. And it's very bizarre. And so even now, this is the thing, you see, when I talk about being connected so much with nature, it's because of this. It's because I've been spoken to by nature on so many occasions. And you can stand here like I am now, and you can be fully compass mentis. You're not like, you know, you've not lost it. You can still think, but there's this dialogue which is going on inside your mind, and it's not your internal dialogue. It's something partaking in your internal dialogue. It's speaking with your mind, with your consciousness, with your ego. And those are the sort of things it says. Look at this. So, up here is this botanical garden, and so that there I think is the University of Coimbra, and I live just 2 minutes over the top of that, and so I'm getting another perspective now of all the greenery that I can enjoy. And this is where I'm making my way towards living, closer to those hills and those wooded areas, because I want to go in a wood where there's nobody and there hasn't been anybody discernible, and I don't want restricted areas and all this stuff, and I want to be able to sit there and do my DMT and meditate and bathe naked in a stream and all this sort of thing. And so it's not too far, so I'm going to be finding somewhere, probably one of those high-rise apartments down there next to the river. But here, you see, this is obviously the centre, and you can see it's built on a hill, and so I have to go up, and every time I go out I have to go down to somewhere and then go back up again, and like, you know, it's a bit of a ball ache. Okay, so I'm not too bothered about it because, you know, I'm inclined to fitness and all that sort of stuff. But you see, I've seen these pictures on many occasions. Alright, I'll be there in a minute, if you insist. God's getting jealous. I've been talking about the other God, the real God. And now this God is, oi, I'm the real God, dong, dong, dong. Do you feel guilty about not coming? No, I don't, as it happens. But I'm gonna come anyway, because I always come and see you and have a little word with you in your tabernacles. I come into your domain and they go, oi, I'm here. What have you got to tell me then? Tell me something useful, tell me something good. Let me know you're there. Tell me about baby Jesus. I don't hear anything. But when I take psilocybin, or even not, they tell me stuff. They tell me stuff all the time. They say, hello, welcome, it's great to see you. Look at us, look at our bark, look at our leaves, look at how we're swaying, look at how we're dancing. It's all for you. And I'm like, thanks. You're beautiful, it's brilliant. God, it's as cold as ice in there. It's freezing cold. The whole place makes you shiver with the dismalness of it. God, please. Demiurge, that's what it is. And so I was saying that I have seen these perspectives on YouTube, in videos and pictures, and I thought to myself, yes, okay, that's a choice I could make. I think I'll take it. And so I'm always encouraging people to do it. Just do it, people. Look at somewhere, picture yourself there. This is the whole law of attraction, which is really the law of intention, because you don't attract stuff to you. You end up being there via your intention. And so you set your intention and you be there. And now I'm here. And it feels curious all the time. Like I said in a previous video, it's about this jumping. I can look at a place from Google Earth. That's bizarre. When you zoom in from Google Earth, it's like your consciousness is there. You can go all around the world like God. Isn't that curious, you see? Because it's not apparent unless we want to accept that that's the reality that's happening, that it's the waves coming through the sky from the satellite and the technology and this, that and the other. But deep down, people, there is none of that. There is only the illusion of that, which is being created via our consciousness. So what I do in my discourses, and I'm speaking at this level very often, and lots of you may take objection to it, lots of you may not really grasp what I'm saying, because you have to have felt this certain something before you're in that camp. Otherwise you're in the camp of the scientists and the people that convey that we've tested this and we've tested that and we know this to be true and we know that to be true. Or we just say, hang on, you're just a human being, yeah, the same as everybody else, and the scientists say that we don't really exist anyway, so why do you convince yourself that you're doing this and you're doing that when it's not a reality? The reality is that there's consciousness having an experience, and somehow it makes it wonderful because it makes it personal to us, you see. And so I can stand here now and I can have a personal relationship with all this, but I know that I'm creating it. You see, I don't get any feedback, you know, on these subjects, and so I guess I just have to keep saying them again in a similar sort of way. But the fact of it is, as I'm standing here, it is me that is creating everything. How? Through my senses. If I didn't have eyes, then what could I see? Nothing. You see? And so, therefore then, because I've got eyes and because I've got my senses that can feel the warm weather and this sort of thing within this illusory body, within this matrix, you see, is part of the rule set. But because I've got this, then I create this. But over and above my body, with the eyes and things like that, there's something else which is silently observing all this. It doesn't need eyes, it doesn't need ears, and it doesn't need fingers to feel. It just has an awareness. And when you simmer down and you set aside your thoughts, it is that is experiencing this. Maybe it's that which is creating it also. Because, you see, like Shiva, the god, it's the god of creation and destruction, because they're part and parcel of the same thing. It has to be, because there is always a beginning and an end to everything, apparently, that is in this universe. We don't know, we speculate about consciousness, but the body, okay, seems like it ends, all things seem like the end, but, you know, consciousness, we seem to have this notion that it continues forever, because people have had experiences outside of death and all this sort of thing. But whether it experiences forever, who could say that? You know, maybe it just experiences for a very, very long time, which we consider to be forever. You know, but in real terms of consciousness, it's only a smidgen of time. And so then, as I stand here now, I feel weird. Of course I feel weird. I was looking at it through the eye of the satellite, through my consciousness, which was miles up in the sky. I don't know, I'm sitting on a satellite looking through a camera or something. You look at the screen and it's your perspective. It's your eyes looking down at the world. And then when you steer the satellite around, apparently, then it's your consciousness that observes everything. And if it wasn't for the fact that we're told that that's how it works, then we could think that it's working in a completely different way. Because it seems to me now that I've got a picture in my mind of the geography of the continent of Australia. And I know what that looks like from many, many pictures, and so I can see that now. And so although it isn't so technicolor, it's an image that I've formed within my consciousness. Okay guys, video's getting a bit long. Don't want to make them too long, otherwise you won't be able to get around them all. So anyway, it's about 28 again today, and it's forecast to be this sort of temperature ongoing now, and so no complaints there.